I have a sister. I am 34 years old, and I have a sister I never knew existed. I found out 3 days after my father's funeral. He left me a key, a storage unit, and a note that said, "Sit down first." I'm going to tell you exactly what was inside, but I need you to understand something first. Because this isn't just a story about a secret. It's a story about 34 years of a man loving two daughters from a distance and only finding the courage to introduce them when it was already too late. My father died on a Tuesday. Robert Callahan, 58 years old, strong as a wall, the kind of man who fixed things instead of talking about them. He drove 4 hours in a snowstorm to pick me up from college when my car broke down. He sat in the front row at every one of my school plays, even the bad ones, and there were many. He cried at my wedding, real tears, the kind you can't fake. By every measure I had, he was a good man. The lawyer called on Thursday morning. "There are some unusual instructions in the will," he said. His voice had that careful, measured quality people use when they're about to detonate something. "I think it would be best if you came in alone." The estate was simple: the house, a savings account, and his old truck that still smelled like pine air freshener and coffee. All of it left to me, his only daughter. Except for one thing: a storage unit. Unit 14B at Clearwater Self-Storage on Route 9. Paid up for the next 20 years. He'd been paying in cash, every year, on the same date, April 7th, my birthday. The lawyer slid an envelope across the desk, my name on the front in my father's handwriting, careful, slightly slanted, the same way he used to write notes in my lunch bag when I was 7. Inside, a single key and a note card with 4 words, "Only if you're ready." I want to pause here for a second, because I've been inside that storage unit. I know what's in those boxes. I know what's in that envelope. And I need you to understand. The moment I opened it, there was a before and an after. 2 completely different versions of my life, divided by a single afternoon in a 10 by 10 room with a folding chair and a fluorescent light that wouldn't stop humming. Are you ready? Because I wasn't. Unit 14B was smaller than I expected, organized with the same quiet precision my father applied to everything. Labeled boxes stacked floor to ceiling, a single folding chair in the center, and on the chair, a manila envelope with a yellow sticky note that said, "Sit down first." I sat down. The envelope contained photographs, dozens of them. A woman I didn't recognize, dark hair, maybe my mother's age in the earliest ones, growing older as the years progressed. And a child, a girl, maybe 3 or 4 in the first pictures, growing up across what looked like 2 decades of images. My hands started shaking before my mind caught up with why. The girl had my father's eyes, my father's smile, that particular way of tilting her head to one side when she was thinking, something I had always believed was just a me thing. It was not just a me thing. There was a letter underneath the photographs, 10 pages, front and back, in my father's handwriting. I won't share every word. Some of it I'm still not ready to. But the core of it was this: Before he met my mother, my father had loved another woman, Claire. They were young, they were careless. When she told him she was pregnant, his own father gave him an ultimatum: leave Claire and the child, or be cut off from the family, from the business, from everything. My father chose wrong. He knew it the moment he made the decision. He spent the next 34 years trying to make up for it, the only way a coward and a good man at the same time knows how, in secret. Every year on April 7th, my birthday, the day he said he needed to remember what mattered most, he deposited money into an account for his other daughter, my sister, a woman named Sophie, who grew up 40 minutes away from me and never once knew our father's last name. And then I reached the bottom of the box. There was a second envelope, my name on the front, and beneath it, in smaller letters, a name I had never heard before that afternoon: Sophie. My father had written the same letter twice. He had planned to send both at the same time, to introduce us to each other, to confess to us simultaneously, to finally stop carrying it alone. My letter was the one I'd just read. Sophie's letter was still sealed. He had died before he could send it, which meant Sophie still didn't know. I sat in that folding chair for almost 2 hours. The fluorescent light hummed. Outside, a man was loading boxes into a unit down the hall, laughing at something on his phone, the world continuing completely normally, as if the entire architecture of my childhood hadn't just quietly collapsed around me. I had a sister. I had always had a sister. She was 40 minutes away, and she didn't know our father was gone because she didn't know our father existed. The last page of his letter ended with this: I don't ask you to forgive me. I only ask you to find her. She has your grandmother's hands and your stubbornness, and she deserves to know where she comes from. You both do. I left the storage unit holding 2 envelopes. One I had opened, one I hadn't. And here's the part I haven't told anyone yet. I found her. It took me less than 10 minutes. She lives 40 minutes away. She has a daughter. My father, our father, has a granddaughter he never met, and she has his exact same eyes. I have her address. I have her phone number. I have a sealed letter from a dead man that belongs to her, and I still haven't called. It's been 11 days since I sat in that storage unit. I've written the message to Sophie 5 times and deleted it 5 times. How do you introduce yourself as the sister someone never knew they had? How do you hand someone a sealed letter from a dead man who loved her from a distance for 30 years and say, "This is yours, and I'm sorry it took so long to reach you"? I don't know if Sophie will want to know me. I don't know if opening that envelope will give her something or take something away forever. I don't know if I'm doing this for her, for my father, or for the version of myself that grew up an only child and spent 34 years not knowing she wasn't. What I know is this: there is a folding chair in a storage unit on Route 9, paid up for 20 more years, that my father left as a meeting place for an introduction he never got to make. I think I owe it to both of us to show up. If you've ever found something after someone died that completely rewrote who they were, I want to hear it. Because right now I feel like I'm the only person in the world sitting under a fluorescent light, holding a dead man's apology and a sister's address. And I really don't think that can be true. One more thing. I told you my father paid for that storage unit every year on my birthday. April 7th, in cash, for 34 years. I went back and checked the deposit records in the letter. He started paying the day I was born. The same day Sophie was supposed to find out she had a sister. He just never found the courage to make the call, until he ran out of time.